Hey, you're watching Cadwell Hunter, and I am super excited because I just rescued all of this old paper money, definitely somebody's collection, from my bank. We're going to go take a look. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, this is James and you're watching my channel, Cadwell Hunter, and I just rescued all of this paper money from the bank. You probably know that Canada's circulating currency right now is made of polymer, so like a plastic banknote. All of this paper money that gets deposited or returned to the bank, people handing in their collections or what was in a drawer, this is all supposed to get returned to the Bank of Canada and destroyed. If I didn't rescue this from the bank, this was going to get shredded and recycled. It would be such a shame because have a look in there. There's tons of great stuff. So some of you are going to want to know how I get my hands on some of this old paper money from the bank. And it's very simple. I just ask. I went to the bank once and asked, hey, do you have any paper money? They probably told me, because a lot of banks have told me, oh, we can't give it to you, or we don't have any in right now. I gave them my phone number and asked them to call me if anything came in. And every time I go to the bank, I just ask, do you have any old silver dollars, any 50-cent pieces? Do you have any paper money? And eventually the bank just started calling me. Or when I asked at first, they would say, oh yeah, I think we might have something. We'll take a look. But now they just call me. They say, hey, we got some paper money in, because they know I'm interested. They know I'll take it. It's probably less of a hassle for them to have me pick it up and take it than it is for them to fill out the paperwork to send it back to the Bank of Canada. So, but this collection here looks pretty interesting. We've got some pretty uncirculated bills, and I suspect if I look, these are going to be sequential, and they are. So you know they're part of somebody's collection. There's a big stack of $2 bills that all look sequential here, and some older stuff, and that looks to be in beautiful shape. That might be a run. No, that's different ones behind there, but there's definitely some older stuff. So I'm going to sort them out by issue. We'll take a look and see if we've got anything interesting. I realize that was a pretty silly statement. All of this is extremely interesting to me. I just started sorting these out. I'm kind of putting these in uncirculated and then the ones that look more circulated and separating them out by series. But I have to show you something that I found I never actually thought I would find from the bank. We got a few 1954, and there may be more in here, $1 bills. And this one is the modified series, that one is the modified series, and that one is the Devil's Face. And you've probably heard people talking about the Devil's Face. The $1 bill particularly is more valuable. This one's very circulated, but these ones didn't last in an uncirculated condition to the degree that some of the higher denominations did. That's super, super exciting. We'll take a closer look at this in a bit, but I wanted to show you that as soon as I saw it. That is super awesome. Well, we got to start with these $1 bills. We ended up with 4 of these 1954 series $1 bills. One of them is the Devil's Face, and you can see the Devil's Face there. If we compare it to what's known as the modified series, they've softened the detail so it doesn't look so much like a face anymore. But this is the one that is really highly sought after. Now, this bill here, it's in pretty rough shape. You can see it's got some creases and some staining. What I find very helpful in trying to understand what the grade is, because it's helpful to understand the grade if you want to understand the value of a bill, the Charlton Catalog of Government Paper Money has some photo grading pictures here, just to give you a representation. There's a VF that's actually pretty crinkly, and a fine that is actually extremely crinkly. But it does say that there's a fair amount of crispness remaining to the paper, and I don't think we've got that. If we flip the page over here, and we go to this very good, that's pretty worn. It says considerable amount of wear along the major creases and edges, lots of fraying paper fibers. The note displays much more dirt. It might be somewhere between these two. This bill here, it's pretty soft. It's not a lot of crispness. Oh, that's not the bill. I was going to say it's got writing on it too. Here is the bill. You can see it's not all that crisp, but it's not as bad as the I think the picture, the VG picture in the book. This could be somewhere between those two grades. And we'll just take a peek to see what this might be worth then. Here it is in the catalog. And if we look down, this one is an E over A. And if we believed it was between a VG and an F, it's between a $20 and $27 bill. That is pretty awesome for paying just $1 at the bank. So the signature combination on this one here is coin and towers. That was the first set of signatures in the 1954 series. And then we've got B.D. Razminsky. That's another B.D. Razminsky. And then this one is a Lawson Bowie. These are the newest of these bills. And these ones are all in pretty rough shape. This one's the nicest. This one here has a big rip right in the middle. This one has writing on it. So not in tremendous shape, but it's always awesome to pick up some 1950s bills. And anytime I'm lucky enough to get one, I'm always looking to see, have I got the devil's face? And this is the first time I've received one from the bank that actually has a devil's face. So that's awesome. That's why you always want to ask. I've always got a stack of these banknote protectors handy. They're just clear plastic. They're archival quality. So anytime I get a bill, I can just sleeve it up and protect it. I don't want the edges to get any more frayed than they are. This one's obviously in a pretty circulated condition, but any bill that you get that you want to preserve, these are a great addition to your collection to have these here handy. One thing you don't want to do is make any assumptions about value of banknotes just by their appearance or condition, because there are some that are more scarce, more rare than others. Particularly, you want to look at the signature combinations and the serial numbers. The things you want to look for is it a radar note? That's where the serial number runs backwards or forwards, really low numbers, and certain prefixes are scarce. So I'm going to take a look at these serial numbers. I don't see anything fancy here. Even ones that read like a birthday are collectible. All of these are regular serial numbers, but we're going to look them up to see if any of them are more scarce. Here's the pricing chart in the Charlton catalog, and I'm just looking to see which ones might be more scarce. You can see this one here, well, that's a replacement note, the A over A. If it's a W over N with no faceplate number, that would be worth more money. So those are the things you want to look for in here. The Charlton catalog is a great resource with tons of information. If you're interested in paper money, you definitely want to get this. And you can order it from the Charlton Press website or from Lighthouse Canada and use the exclusive discount code CRH20 and get 20% off your purchase. They support the channel, they're sponsors. So these are all very common and not necessarily in great shape, but we're going to take a look at the other denominations in the 1954 series. This $2 bill here is prefix M over G. It's Lawson Bowie. So one thing to note about these, the date on here, the series 1954 is when they started printing these bills. These bills were actually printed well into the 70s. So for 20 years, these were produced. And the Lawson Bowie is the latest of the signature series. So this is probably quite a bit newer than 1954. And it's in excellent shape. I can see it's got one little counting crease. The counting crease is where the teller might have flicked it with their thumb while they were counting the bills. So that's the only real mark on there. A little tick on the corner there, but the corners are otherwise nice and sharp. Interestingly, to grade as an uncirculated bill, you can still have a minor counting crease. That doesn't count against its uncirculated grade. This might still get an AU if I was to actually have it graded, but if I look in the book here, an M over G, Lawson Bowie, in an AU is a $9 coin, or $9 bill, I should say, or $12 in an uncirculated. So I'll want to flip that guy up too and preserve it. It's in excellent shape and it's definitely got a premium well over face value. So both of the $10 and the $20 are pretty circulated. You can see they've got some staining. This might be some ink marks. This actually might be transfer from other bills in the printing process. That's actually pretty common, but in either case, either of them have much of a premium over face value. So this 10 might be worth $12 or $13. That 20 might be worth $23, $24 in this condition. If it's a mostly uncirculated bill, you would do much better. But still, again, very hard to come by because the banks are typically destroying these bills, or the Bank of Canada is destroying them. Just think about that. Every single day, tens of thousands of these bills potentially are being collected and shredded. It's a terrible loss of history, and who knows how many significant, uncirculated or scarce bills are being destroyed every single day. It's really a tragedy to think about it. Okay, I figure we'll go to the next oldest series here. This is the 1973 series. It's a big stack of $1 bills that are uncirculated and they've got consecutive serial numbers. So I'm going to actually sort them out to see if it's just one large run of uncirculated bills or if it's more than one. So I'll set them up in stacks if we've got more than one here, and we'll take a peek. Okay, I've spread these all out, and I've almost run out of room on the desk. And we were so close to something incredible. I'll show you in just a second. Here are all the circulated bills. The best of them are on the top there. There's nothing sequential. They're just individual notes. But we got a bunch of runs of sequential bills. This one is almost AC ending with 7-3 and 7-5. This one's got a crease on the corner here, but we're missing 7-4. So it had a buddy that is no longer here. But once we get away from that, here we've got AA and going 7-8, 7-9, 80, 81. So that's cool. Over here, we have an AF ending in 4-4 and 4-5. Over on this side, we've got a GK prefix ending in 80 and all the way up to 88, all uncirculated $1 bills. Now, this is where we got really kind of crazy and really kind of close. We've got a run of sequential bills here with a GR prefix 1838334, going up 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. And then another run that starts at 50. So we're missing 42 to 49, and then it goes to 50, up to 55. We're missing 56. Otherwise, we'd have had a longer run, and then it goes 57, 8, 9, 60, 61, 62, 63, and that's where it ends. But we have this single note, 1838374. Why I said we were so close is because we have a whole bunch of these all in a run here, kind of separated by a few missing notes, and it ends in 7-4. But if we had the bill that ended, if that was 1838381, that would have been a radar note. And a radar note in an uncirculated condition from the 1973 series is actually worth a fair amount. It would be worth getting graded for sure for a bill like that. But we missed it. We topped out at 74. We just needed to go another 7 notes and we would have had a radar note, and that is so close. What a bummer. I mean, this is awesome, don't get me wrong, these are all fantastic. I'm going to flip these up. Sequential bills are pretty sought after by collectors. It just is good evidence that they're uncirculated for sure. Obviously they've just sat in somebody's collection. Even uncirculated bills like this though can have little marks and nicks and scratches and bent corners because just how the people who had them might have stored them, put them in envelopes, or looked at them, or shuffled them, or whatever they might have done to them. But this is awesome, getting a whole bunch of crisp, brand new, over 50-year-old banknotes. It's pretty awesome. I'm going to flip these up all together so I keep the sequential notes together, and then we'll take a look at the rest of the stuff. None of these are rare, but we'll take a peek and see if any of these series command any sort of a premium. So you just need to look at the first line here, 1973 Lawson Bowie 2 letters. There were 1.8 billion of these printed. So they're not rare. There's specific replacement notes, those ones with the asterisks that you can see are quite sought after, like really limited print runs. But this one in an uncirculated condition is worth about $3, these ones here. But we just paid $1 at the bank. And so that's a pretty good return, triple our return. We'll hold on to these, and I'll see if any of these circulated ones, I didn't notice any replacement notes, so that would tell me that none of them are going to be worth anything significant. It's the same thing with the 3-letter prefix. There are some exceptions. I'll want to check for any of those, but I don't think we have anything crazy. Very similar story here with the $2 bills from the 1974 series. We got a bunch of sequential bills. We got a BA prefix with Lawson Bowie going from 22 to 25. Another run here, BK, 78, 79, 80, and then a huge stack, ARE, from 03 to 45. Now, we came close with the $1 bills, but you have to check this out. Look at this serial number, 729193. What we need is for the last two digits to be 27, and we would have a radar 7291927. And our run goes from 03 to 45. And when I looked, check it out. We have the radar, and it is in incredible shape. The corners are crisp. The paper is beautiful. It was right in the middle of this big stack of uncirculated bills, protected. And I think this might be a grader. I'm going to pull up eBay and see what graded radar notes in the 74 series are going for. So I pulled up eBay. I've only pulled up sold listings. What did they actually sell for? Here's an ungraded one, $67.99 it went for. Here are a couple of very circulated, $2 and $1 for $45. And let's see if there's anything. There may not be anything on here that is, there's a replacement. So it might, these are pretty scarce. There are some listings right now, and they range, if I take off the sold filter, go down here, and this is where you would find it. I'm just gonna uncheck sold. It'll redo the search. So there is an AU bill, $85. There is that's a replacement radar, 2-digit radar. So of course, depending on the serial number, they're going to be more. Here's an uncirculated 67 EPQ. That's a high grade, 164. But it's likely, here is a 65, 94. This could be graded $100 banknote. And even if it was like a $60 banknote, I paid $2. I paid $2 for it. Just incredible. And we got it in this stack here, 7291927. This is just awesome. We got a radar, uncirculated bill, and we got that devil's face. This is just incredible. So nothing crazy in the 1986 series $2 bills. They're all pretty circulated. They're all very common. One to look out for, this one here is a BGZ prefix. And if you look in the Charlton Guide, you'll see the BGZ, anything from BGA to BGZ, there are a few variations. 2 small b's, 1 small b and 1 large b, or 2 large b's. The 2 small b's, which is this one here, that's the small b, and that's the small b. This is common, just worth face value, nothing crazy. But if you find the one that has either a small b and a large b, or 2 large b's, even in a really circulated VG, it's a $5 banknote. But if you can get it into uncirculated, wow, $85, $125, AU, $50 or $75. So you'll want to check that out for sure. This is just the small b. And if I flip over the page, here's an example where you can see here is a large B and there is a small b. That's what they'll look like. So this particular series, you want to find one that has a large B on one prefix and or on one serial number, and a small b on the other. So large on one, small on the other, or both of them are the large. And we didn't get that here. We ended up with 5 of these 1986 series $5 bills here, and these are all very early ones, and we can tell that the prefix was the first set of prefix, ENS, ENM, ENP, and what characterized them as a bit different than the rest is that the backplate number, which is right above my finger here, is yellow, and you can barely read it. You can actually see there's a lot of yellow in the river, in the water there, so it's really hard to read. Later issues, they made that in a blue ink so you could actually read it. These are all probably maybe in an AU condition. You can see that they've got a bit of a crease. I don't think they were actually completely folded. This one might have a bit of a stain. Actually, no, that's just the coloring on the bill. You can see it transfers to all of them. A little bit of counting mark and that sort of thing. But if we look in the Charlton Guide, anything in the ENA, ENZ with the yellow backplate number, in an AU, $16. Even if it was an EF, $8. But this is actually somewhere in the middle of that here. So let's say about a $15 banknote, which is pretty awesome. We got 5 of them, and we got a couple of consecutive runs. So there's 49 and 50. There's 57 and 58 in ENM, and then this one on its own. But it was almost an interesting number, 033033. If that last digit had been a 0, it would be a radar. If it had been a 3, it would have been a binary. In this case, it's really nothing terribly special, but it's a pretty good shape. One at least I can possibly trade with another collector to fill a hole in my collection, but nonetheless, we got some great ones here. Well, I gotta say that was pretty incredible. Probably one of my best banknote purchases ever. And when you can buy banknotes at face value from the bank, and I suggest you just ask and see if they'll say yes, then anything you get that has any value beyond face value is an incredible purchase. We got tons of uncirculated and sequential runs. We got a variety of years, even some old stuff. This 1954 series in just impeccable condition. But we found 2 incredible finds. And the 2 finds of the day, of course, were the 1954 series Devil's Face bill. Incredible. The first time I've ever found a Devil's Face bill from the bank. And then maybe even better than that, just depending on what your perspective is, we got this Radar 7291927 1974 $2 bill. And this bill is in impeccable condition. The corners are not even blemished in any way. This is more or less the most perfect bill I've ever found, I think. And because it was nestled in a big stack, it's not uncommon for some of these uncirculated bills to get a little scuffed on the front or the back or on the corners. But this one was well protected. That is incredible. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video looking at some old paper banknotes where we found some veritable treasures, some valuable bills. That is pretty awesome. I'd appreciate it if you give the video a like if you enjoyed it. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, CAD Hunter, you made it this far in the video, I guarantee you will enjoy the rest of my content. So hit that button and subscribe and be on the lookout for my upcoming videos. I have new videos coming out all the time. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate it. We'll see you again next time. The sponsors of today's video are Lighthouse Canada and the Charlton Press. Lighthouse Canada is the leading supplier of high-quality numismatic supplies in Canada, and the Charlton Press is the leading publisher of coin and paper money catalogs and price guides for Canadian collectors. Go check out their online stores today and use the exclusive discount code CRH20 for 20% off all your purchases.